and to build on that. So then, let's say in a business standpoint, what would the king do in it relates to economics? You know, what would the king do as it relates to finance? What would the king do as it relates to human resources? I mean, what would the king do as it relates to the law? You know what I mean? So we can even break it down from a more practical standpoint, and then to know what the king would do, you have to go back and read what he wrote. And he's given us principles and practices to understand really in every single area of our lives of how we are to operate. And so really we can't even plead ignorance because it's been written for us. Like we get arrested now for doing something we say we didn't know it was in the law. Well, the police officer, that's too bad. Ignorance is no excuse. Well, God is in many ways saying the same thing. If we violate one of his laws in the marketplace, ignorance is no excuse because it's written in there. We just have to take that step to go and understand.
And I like one of the words you used was principle, because what often happens in church is we get excited over the promises of God, but we negate the principles. And it is walking out the principles on a daily basis that allow the promises to be manifested in our life.
Speaking to the principles are the principles. And I had somebody ask me before, well, they're not saved, or they don't believe this, and they're successful, and they're doing that. The principles are the principles. We have to decide how we live our lives, and the principles work. So if you put certain principles in your life that you practice, and they are, whether it's working hard, and every day I'm going to study, and every day I'm going to do this, I'm on my business, and I'm going to open up early, I'm going to stay late, it works. And eventually you become successful. But it doesn't mean that, I think we just can't ignore the principles.
Well, it's just like if you don't believe in gravity, so you know, you don't have to understand it, you don't have to know anything about it. If you step off a building, you become a believer.
We have time for one last question or comment. Janice. I apologize.
Thank you, distinguished guests and panelists. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I think very timely indeed. I have more of a statement than a question, but I would like to get you guys to piggyback on it. My husband and I had this conversation, and we do it quite often, but we honestly believe that for anyone out there that has not figured it out yet, we are in the middle of what I would call a basic paradigm shift in the way that we conduct our social business, our economic business, our banking, and every part of our culture is being shifted. And this happens on a very cyclical basis. It happens when major things happen, world wars. When the Great Depression happened the first time, things changed. We went to become a manufacturing from a farming. You understand? So when it happened in the 80s and the excess during that time, we switched into information, and and all the .coms went down. So I honestly believe that what's going on now is another one of those shifts in time. So if you have lost a job and you have not stopped feeling sorry for yourself long enough to figure out where is everything moving, where are we going next, you will not, you will not be part of the next phase or whatever is coming along. And that's truly how I see it. I think you guys have spoken on many different, aspects of what I'm saying. But I honestly believe that the best advice that anyone in this room can take away is stop and look and see what's changed. Right now, banks are not lending. Therefore, how do you get capital to make your business work? You do not have money to go out and buy and be a consumer. So you move from being a consumer to becoming a producer. How do you do that? I think that's what everyone is basically trying to tell you. And so I guess that was my statement. I just wanted to make sure that everyone walks out of here knowing that we're in the middle of a change and a shift, and if you haven't figured out how am I going to fit into this new economy, is it going to be staying closer to home and doing things in your local neighborhood and building from there? Am I building those relationships? Whereas I had my budget to go out and party before, that's gone now. Now how do I entertain myself and keep, part of the community? So I don't know if that's what
I think that's a great point, and I'd like to say one thing too.
No, that's fine. What I was going to say is I'd like to stretch the meeting for just about 5 minutes because I'm curious about that.
And what I would say is, the name of my publishing company is called Paramount Publications. And Paramount is to help in the mind. And our mind is a shift in thinking, as I mentioned, and it's for a paradigm shift to think outside the box. I wrote a book called What Had Happened to Us, and I think really that's what a lot of people are saying right now. It's like, everybody's got a story. And usually when you get ready to start a story, you then sit down, and when I was a lender, I heard all the time, people say, well, you see, what had happened was. And I said, if I write a book, that's what it is. That's what we're in this period of what had happened was right now. The book was about 4 characters that live in a town called reality, similar to the world that we live in. About too good to be true, just to get by. D. Joneses and couldn't care less. They're all trying to get a special deal. The special deal is freedom, the ability to live out your dreams. The thing that, freedom, the ability to live out your dreams, what you've been waiting for. It's that thing that all of us is something special that we want out of life or whatever it is. But it's that. That's our special deal. And right now we've got an opportunity to get the special deal. And this is the time to get that special deal. But we have to decide what personality we are. Some of us are a combination of some of those personalities. We got a little too good to be true and a little just to get by. Just to get by is wake up, eat, go to work, go to sleep. Right? We have that routine, but we have to figure out who we are and bring those qualities that will help us get that special deal to the top. And that's what's going to happen.
And I have the privilege of actually having had my book published by Paramount Publications. And so Dream Big in 3D is the name of my book, and I think it ties in exactly to your statement. There was a lot of hoopla about this time last year because we had the change president in office. It was interesting because I was just thinking, a year later, what has really changed? Because the thing is, no president can change your life. I don't care who it is. I don't care who comes into office. No president can change your life. You have the ability, the power to change your own life and your own situation. And so as we look at and assess the environment we're in, we have to make a decision how we want to live. And again, which character do we want to be? As I talk about in my book, Dream Big in 3D, dream big, people have been dreaming big for a long time. But the thing is, they focus on the size of what they want. I want the big house, the big car, the big bank account. The dream big in 3D that I'm talking about is actually the significance of your life. What do you want your legacy to be? No matter what the economy is doing, no matter what has happened with your job or not, no matter what has happened with other situation, what do you want people to be talking about you 25 years from now? Do you want them to be talking about the fact that you lost your job and you just quit on life? Or do you want them to be talking about the fact that, yeah, you may have lost your job, but you started something that no one could have imagined? You've impacted 3 or 4 generations by what you invested your life into. You turned your pain into profitability. You turned your obstacles into opportunities. That's the thing when I'm talking about Dream Big in 3D and what I like, Bo said earlier, he's a doubt reduction specialist. I'm a dream catalyst. I want to help spark the dream that's inside of you, to get it out of your head and into your life, to begin to actually live that dream. Again, not so you can amass a bunch of stuff, but that the legacy you leave behind when you're gone will actually help other people live out their dreams. And so to me, that's what change is all about, in terms of changing your perspective and also changing your life from what is most significant and important to me, and then what do I want to leave behind with that.
Hey, that's all right. Keep your dollar. Wait till you passing out 5s. There's a real opportunity, and you spoke to it to some degree. And I just like to add just a bit to that. The shift I see is not in the physical, it's not in finances. To me, all of those are symptoms. What I see is a real shift from acquisition to impact. From companies and individuals being driven by the need, the desire, and the business model to acquire, to individuals and organizations being driven to impact the communities in which they've been planted. And so that's the shift I see in the landscape, and I believe that those people and those organizations that are going to survive are the ones that figure out that this is a symbiotic relationship, that they cannot thrive at the expense of the resources and the community in which that they live and they're planted. So companies that figure out how to to not necessarily capitalize on their opportunities, but to maximize their opportunities are the organizations that are going to thrive in the years that are coming. Because it's not so, it's not just about having a, you know, a stock ticker that's 400 now. You know, it's about figuring out how do we as an organization convert our business model and design it in such a way that it's really not counterproductive, but productive for us to be investing over in Haiti. How do we make it productive for us to get down into New Orleans and to begin to rebuild that community? And I think those organizations that understand that shift, they're the ones that are going to be successful. And those people and those individuals that latch their own wagons to that type of transition are the ones that are going to thrive in the years to come.
It's like you invest in the success of your customer.
Absolutely. Because their success is your success.
That's right.
And it's just, I mean, and I'm looking now at the back of my book, and I just and put it together. So you really just kind of said this and kind of all how it plays together. It says, between perfect bliss and rock bottom is a place called reality. And it talks about everything was fine in reality, but the chance of a lifetime came along. A chance to have freedom and live out their greatest dream, causing a few of these four characters to alter their lives in order to have it. What would you do if you had a chance to be free? And so I think that's the question that we all have to be asking.
Just to add to that, freedom is being liberated from a job that you loved and was making the most money you ever made in your life. Freedom is being liberated from that and coming out of your depression long enough to realize that, oh my God, I am free, and every skill that I used where I was, now I can produce something. You understand, you can make a real impact and if you stop long enough to realize that what you're receiving at this moment of great change is freedom. You've been released from the slavery of consumerism and being stuck at a job 9 to 5 when you had the luxury of not having to plan your relationships, not having to plan anything, just go there because you're going to get your paycheck every week and it's going to be that set amount. The freedom is truly being released from that, but having enough thought in mind to see that you're free.
I'd like to allow Apostle Tito to finish up with the paradigm and your comments, please.
Yes, I love the word that you use, cyclical, because everything happens in cycles. And where we are now, with those cycles also come waves, and we have to know when to ride the waves and what to do at certain times. I do believe that there is a major shift as it relates to how we look at our lives, how we look at what the next steps are. And let me put a shameless plug in real quick for what we're doing on Friday night, because I wish I could take this panel and sit you all in the middle of the room on Friday night, and so that we can converge this very same discussion to hear what other apostles and prophets have to say or have to add to this particular conversation. One of the things that we said throughout the night was we're talking about purpose and finding passion. When we understand where we are right now with the waves, we're looking for strategy.
Thank you. Would you please give our panelists a big round?